Couple ways to install plastic valves. PVC and CPVC can be solvent cemented or threaded, depending on the connection you have. This is a socket connection. This is a threaded connection. There are many types of threads, but as long as you know what you're dealing with, it's a fairly straightforward process. So this solvent cement is your friend, but it can also cause some problems. Let's turn to Andy Ryan and find out what goes on. What's the mistake people make most often with solvent cement?
Exactly. So care has to be taken when you're using solvent cement and the solvent that you use to soften the plastic. When you use the solvent and the solvent cement, put the two together, it forms a bond that is essentially the PVC or CPVC itself, right? However, it's runny, it dries quickly, and it can cause problems if you're not careful. If you put too much in to your joint, it can slide down, as we'll show here on these samples, where customers had solvent cemented the Plast-O-Matic ARV to a standpipe.
This pipe?
And they solvent cemented the entire assembly as is, as received from the factory. They did not remove the individual pieces first. And what happened is the glue ran down through the joint
From the top down.
from the top down and found its way onto the seat.
Okay.
Okay, and they let the joint dry, and in the drying process, it found its way in between the seat and the orifice. So when they pressure tested the assembly, they found that it leaked. Of course, the first thing they said was, you didn't QC test your valve, Plast-O-Matic, but that's not the case at all, because we test every valve that we manufacture.
So what happened is you found that they had dripped solvent cement into the body of the valve itself and actually welded components together inside the valve.
Here we see the seat with a little bit of the solvent cement on the seat, and that would harden in the drying process and would then cause the valve to leak. And in addition to that, here, in this particular instance, there's solvent cement that's on the ID where the piston rides up and down, and what that did was that compromised the piston's ability to move. So when the customer tested this valve, water just rushed right through it, and the valve failed testing.
The piston has to move, and in here, they inadvertently cemented this component in place so it wouldn't move at all. So that's a prime example of what can go terribly wrong with solvent cement. So thankfully, we don't have those problems with threads, or do we?
Yeah, there are considerations for both solvent cementing and threading, right? One of the prime problems we see, the most common problem, is using a channel lock to tighten a joint, in this case here. And what you do is you create stress risers at both points of contact of the metal wrench, which cracks the end connection and causes a leak, right? So instead of using a metal channel lock, you want to use a purpose-built strap wrench that provides uniform force throughout the end connection, as you see here, and allows you to tighten the valve without the end connector, without stress points, with stress risers. This is the preferred method, or really the only method to use when threading together plastic components.
So we have an instruction sheet, which is often ignored, but displays it quite plainly. No metal pipe wrenches, no channel locks, use a strap wrench.
But there's more. Other issues that we find with threading is the use of incompatible seal materials, sealants, what they call pipe thread sealants. And you have to make sure the pipe sealant that you're using is recommended for the material of construction of the component you're threading. Many times you'll find issues where the customers use a metallic pipe sealant, which has the ability to crack the PVC and therefore cause the joint to fail.
It'll solve it. A very popular one is the brand SWAC. Great for metal pipes, not compatible with plastics. So we recommend typical Teflon tape, just like you would use as a homeowner. Such as this, which is these are beautiful brass fittings. Is there a problem with these?
Yeah, that's the third problem we've got, is using metallic fittings, threaded fittings, male threaded fittings into a female plastic fitting. And what happens is, since it's an NPT thread, it has a point of no return. So there's a point where the two pieces of the tapered thread come together, the female thread and the male thread. And because the metal threads are so sharp, they'll actually cut into the plastic thread and they'll slice through it, and the installer won't feel any cinch, all right, any hesitation or stop in the connection of the two threaded joints, and that'll cause the female plastic pipe to crack. So what we would recommend, if you do have a metallic male fitting and you want to assemble that into a female plastic fitting, you should use a female by female metal coupling, Rick.
Okay.
And then come out of the female metal coupling with a plastic male by male nipple.
Okay.
And then make your joint that way. That's exactly right.
And do a nice job with your Teflon tape, such as this. Another thing I've heard from time to time is in handling at a warehouse or installation site, someone will toss a valve somewhere. That's kind of a common thing. What could possibly go wrong with that?
Exactly right. So even in the manufacture of the valves, we tell our machinists and our mold people not to throw the plastic bodies into the box as they go through their run. Just like you wouldn't want to throw a plastic valve, complete valve assembly, on the floor, you don't want to throw parts of the plastic valve so that there's no impact. And they're brittle and they can crack.
So you could have microscopic cracks in the body that will be unseen until they fail.
Exactly right. They might not fail right away, but under stress, pressure, temperature, flow, you can get a crack at a later date. So you want to make sure that you treat these with the respect that they're due.
Yes, processing-wise, these will handle anything short of molten lava, but they do have to be handled properly to prevent cracks, leaks, and other mishaps that we see quite often with these products. So take care with them.
That's correct.